Hey there, this is your orchestration tutor Thomas Goss on the 7th Sunday of 2013 with a little tip about the practical problems involved with the bowing technique Sul Tasto. If you're not familiar with Sul Tasto, I strongly recommend that you do some score reading, especially of Ravel and Debussy, who used this technique under the French term sur la touche. Basically, it means to bow over the fingerboard instead of the regular bowing position between the end of the fingerboard and the bridge. It's a subtle and yet sometimes striking effect, a slightly unearthly, distant tone that still has a bit of soul to it. Debussy mostly used it for a very subtle type of coloration, but Ravel scored it with a freer hand, bringing it to the forefront in works like Daphnis and Chloe. This type of sound is produced because the bow is speaking more in the middle of the string, with the fingerboard in the way. These two factors help to muffle the sound a bit, favoring a lower spectrum of overtones. However, there are certain parameters that aren't always stressed in the orchestration manuals. First, the orchestrator should be aware of the practical upper limits of finger positions playing sul tasto on the violin and viola. If the fingers climb too high on the neck, then they get too close to the bow. Aside from possibly bowing one's fingers, the player also finds the elevation between the string and its neighbors gradually shrinking. There's a real risk of inadvertently playing double stops. Add to this the impossibility of playing a true sul tasto on the top E string of the violin. The upper lobe of the violin body gets in the way. At best, the player can get close to the fingerboard, in an effect more correctly called flautando. I've actually done this myself, scored very high notes with the marking of sul tasto, and I have to admit that the players faked it admirably without complaining. Sul tasto is almost like an attitude that can be insinuated without too much difference in bow position. Almost. But a true sul tasto is unmistakable and truly worth it if you can score it accurately. For the past week, I've been focusing on bowing and phrasing in my daily tips. You can read them by clicking the links in the sidebar below, visiting the Orchestration Online Facebook group, or looking me up in the Twitterverse under Orchestration OL. Please join me next week for a tip regarding Ravel and his stratospheric oboe solo, also from Daphnis and Chloe. Hope you can make it.